Hi guys, I'm Dr. Megan Connell, and this is Psychology at the Table. This is a special episode where I am joined by Paladin Hulk today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk through an example of talking to your players about a problem. Now, full disclosure on a couple things here. The example we're going to talk through, Paladin Hulk was a player for, not the GM for, but we're going to talk through it as though he were the GM on how to address this issue and what to do with it. Also, this is our second take because the first take did not get my audio because I'm awesome at recording. So we're going to revisit this issue a little bit. So we have talked through it once, we've rehearsed it, but the first time it was just us kind of bantering back and forth on it. So even though it's a recording or a re-recording, whatever, it's good.
It'll still feel totally fresh, I
Totally
promise.
fresh.
Yep.
All right. So, Paladin Hulk, can you give us just an overview of the issue that you ran into and what was going on with your group?
Absolutely. So I have an in real life group where we play lots of different kinds of role playing games, and we also always have lots of ideas for what we want to do next, and everyone's always thinking about campaign ideas. And the situation we were in is that we had decided to play Pathfinder. That was the game we were doing. We planned that a while ago, and after that we were going to play Shadowrun. So we're currently playing Pathfinder, and then we're going to do Shadowrun. And we had one player who constantly made little comments about Shadowrun, like I'm only here waiting until Shadowrun starts. When's the Shadowrun? How many more episodes do we have of this? And it's okay if we all die in this difficult encounter because then we can play Shadowrun, and hooray for Shadowrun. And that got a little much. So the GM, he got up and yelled at him. If you don't like it, you can get out. And well, that wasn't the smoothest. Afterwards, we did have the conversation, which I think went okay. But clearly, we should have tackled this a little sooner and a little better
Yeah, yeah.
without the yelling.
And these conversations are difficult to have, which is why we made the video and why I'm doing this follow-up where we're going to talk through this example. This is a great example. I think this kind of stuff is pretty common where somebody's not wanting to play the system or the game that we have, and so we're trying to figure out how to appease everybody and get the fun going. So for the sake of privacy, we came up with fake names for everybody in this group. So we've got Jack as our problem player who wants to play Shadowrun, and the other two are Jill and Harvey. And they're enjoying Pathfinder. They're having a great time. Just right now, the concern is Jack.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start off with working on identifying the problem. So the behavior we see that's the problem is Jack continually mentioning the Shadowrun game and wanting to be done with Pathfinder so that you guys can play Shadowrun. So let's go through this. Why is that a problem that he keeps bringing that up?
Because it disrupts our fun. We're trying to play Pathfinder. We're trying to have fun playing Pathfinder, and every comment is let's not do this. Let's not have this fun that we're having right now.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Okay.
You can't have that.
Why is that a problem? Why is that disrupting the fun of everybody else?
Everyone's is connected. If one person in a room is having a bad time, that's going to influence everyone.
Okay.
And from those comments, it makes it sound like he's having a bad time, because otherwise he wouldn't want to skip ahead to Shadowrun.
Okay. Why isn't it so important for why is your fun tied to his fun?
Because there is a group. It's not in role-playing games. They're not an individual thing you do. You can't play a role-playing game by yourself. You all show up together and you agree that we're going to do this campaign with this system, and we're going to do it for an X amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have something like that baked in, and then only then, when it's done, do you move on to the next one.
To the next thing, right? So it's part of the group dynamic. Why is that so important? That it's the group.
Because you're there together. Everyone is working together to have fun, and I'm as a GM, I'm trying to make sure that my players have a good time, and all the players are hopefully trying to make sure that everyone else is having a good time, that I'm having a good time, and someone isn't doing it. He's jabbing.
And so it feels like the one player's dissatisfaction is undermining the fun of everybody else.
Yes.
Okay. And I think we kind of skipped one why here, but we'll ask the fifth why of like why is that a problem?
I got lost. Why is what a problem?
Why is him basically like jabbing at everybody a problem?
Because it ruins the mood.
Yeah. Good. So real quick with talking through the whys 5 times, it can feel a bit awkward and clunky, but that's sort of the point because it helps us get away from the surface behavior and start really looking at this in a more complex thing. One of the things we've seen with this is that the behaviors we're talking about Shadowrun, but really what this is doing is it's influencing the group dynamic.
Yeah.
Like that the whole group has come together to kind of agree to play these things, and by somebody saying I don't want to play this way anymore, it's upset almost like the agreement of the group.
Yeah, because he never actually said that literally.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the constant vibe that was getting from his Shadowrun comments.
Yeah.
And it's fine if he said, I'm not having any fun. How about the rest of you? Can we maybe skip this? Mm-hmm. That would be okay, because that's a perfectly fine thing to bring up. But he wasn't doing that.
So it's more like the passive aggressive kind of comments where it's just like I don't want to, it feels passive aggressive. We don't know his intent obviously because he's not here.
I should also mention that he's autistic, so he has probably no idea how his behavior is influencing us.
Yes, yeah. And that brings up a really good point that I actually didn't mention in the first video, which is to be taking into account other things that are going on in the person's life. And that should be a question probably you ask early on. It's like, what's going on in their life? Like, is there anything that we know of that's going on that could be influencing this? Whether it's a diagnosis like autism, a chronic illness, chronic pain, a life change, whether it be good or bad, different psychological issues such as depression or anxiety, things like that. And that can be, something that we want to take into account. So one of the things that can be coming into account for this particular player is that he might be having a hard time reading the social cues. He might not understand exactly how his comments are interpreted by others. That his motivation isn't just clearly understood, that maybe he's okay with playing Pathfinder, but really does just want to be at Shadowrun and is just kind of biding his time or whatever. Does that feel like it kind of captured the problem okay for you and what you see as the problem? Okay. So what is it that we want to see change as a result of the conversation? Like sitting down and talking with Jack, what do we want to see when he walks away from that conversation?
Well, we want him to understand what his comments are doing. That he's doing it, he might not even know.
Okay.
That he's constantly making these comments, and the effect that it has on the group, and that it's making us have less fun. That's one of the goals at least. Mm-hmm. And the rest is that I'm assuming that him making the comments means that he isn't having any fun, and that's not good. That's a problem that needs solving.
Most definitely. So we want to make sure that Jack's having fun, and then also that he understands what his comments are doing to the group dynamic and what it's communicating to the rest of the group. Perfect. Okay. So now that we've got an understanding of what the problem is, that his comments are impacting the entire group, it's kind of undermining the agreement that you guys all had for playing together, and that we want to ensure that he's having fun and having a good time and ensuring that he's doing things to maximize the fun for everyone else. Let's start practicing how we might go about wording this. So kind of putting you on the spot a little bit here. How might you word this to Jack?
I'd sit him down and say, hey, Jack, so I don't know if you've noticed this, but you've been bringing up Shadowrun a lot while we've been playing Pathfinder. And it's great that you're, looking forward to Shadowrun. I'm trying to play Pathfinder, and we'll get to Shadowrun eventually. But meanwhile, I really want to focus on the Pathfinder. I think that our fellow players are having a good time playing Pathfinder. Are you having a good time playing Pathfinder? Because if you're not happy, then something needs to change.
Okay, good. I like that a little like we're a little wandery with the point, so I think he might be like, "Why are we talking about this?"
Yeah,
Dang it. Um,
I noticed that.
yeah, but also I liked though you didn't use any language that I think would cause him to be defensive and be like, "Well, what the hell, man? Why are you saying that when this or that's going on?" So I really liked that. So uh, again, the thesis or the comments we want to make sure he gets are like your comments, your behavior impact other people, and I want to make sure you're having fun.
Yeah,
So can we let's try it again and try to see if we can get those 2 points to be absolutely clear with what you're saying.
yeah. To make the link,
Yes.
yeah, that's the hard part, because
Mhm.
then we're accusing him of ruining our fun, and
Right.
that's a tough one. Um, yeah, how are we gonna say this?
Well, I think it can be, part of if we go and think about like the bigger reason that we play together, right? Is because it sounds like one of the things for you guys is it's fun. And part of the fun that
That's
you guys
what
have
games are all about.
is um is trying a lot of different systems and trying different stories and things like that. And so to sit down and maybe start off with that idea of the fun. Saying like, we do this group because it's a lot of fun. I'm worried you're not having fun on this current campaign.
Yeah,
Um, and though that's a very short and concise thing. And one of the things too that we could think about is if we come up with something like this where it's really 2 points, or more, thinking about having a couple of conversations. Because I know sometimes you can have one conversation and a lot of stuff comes out of it, and then you didn't even get to your second point.
mm-hmm.
And some people also can't take in too much information. If we think about someone who struggles with anxiety or is quite sensitive to criticism or feedback, giving them like 2 or 3 bits of feedback on their play style might completely overwhelm them and cause them to shut down, which is not what we want to see.
Yeah, focus on one thing at a time,
Mhm.
and you'll see good results.
Yes. So let's maybe plan this conversation a little differently than we did in our first take then. Let's talk about it as maybe having a couple of conversations. So of the two, I mean, the big problem behavior we're seeing is his comments about Shadowrun continuously, but that's more influenced by the first
Yeah,
one of the other one of are you having fun?
yeah, because we're thinking if he does have fun, he'll stop doing that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's sort of our underlying hypothesis. So,
And
um,
we can maybe get to that, like how we've noticed that he isn't having any fun.
mhm.
Ha- We'll say, um, I think that you might not be having any fun. And I'm thinking this because while we're all here to play Pathfinder, you keep talking about Shadowrun. And, it seems like your mind is on Shadowrun and not on the thing we're here to do. So,
I think that's
how's that?
great. I really liked that. That was very short. That was very concise, and you really got to that heart of the matter of I don't feel like you're having any fun. I'm worried you're not having fun, and I want to make sure you're having fun. No, I think that's
It's
perfect.
important.
Yeah. No, I think that is spot on perfect with how to give that feedback. So, a couple things when you're planning to have the conversation, once sometimes it can help to do something like this where you're talking it through with another person and even recording it so you can listen back. Because I know my brain, like, stuff falls out of it all the time. Like, oh, how did I say that thing? I don't know. Um, so being able to listen back to it and go, okay, this is how I said this. This is a good thing. Um, and then maybe making your points on a 3x5 card or something. Because I think especially if you're not used to giving feedback to people, the first few times you do it, you're going to be incredibly nervous. And so
Hmm.
it's easy to jump into the problem behavior rather than the underlying thing. You have to go, Jack, you keep bringing up Pathfinder or keep bringing up Shadowrun, and we're playing Pathfinder. That's a real big problem. And we miss the heart of the conversation, which is
Yeah.
I want you to have fun, and it doesn't seem like you're having fun.
Well, it's only that uh, we've been able to analyze what the actual problem is that we can have that conversation.
Exactly, exactly. And this is why it's so important to really take that time to ask those why questions 5 times.
Hmm.
Again, even though it can feel clunky and awkward doing so, it really helps us peel back those layers so we can get at the heart of the matter, which is we want to have a game that's fun for everybody. And it seems like one person's not having fun, and because of that, it's kind of spreading out like a rot.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different solutions to someone not having fun,
Hmm.
but that's a lot easier to tackle than some of the other things. Like uh, calling him out on his behavior is a lot harder than trying to increase someone's fun, because he's very motivated to have more fun, and he'll help you out with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, when we think about planning this conversation, um, typically I would encourage people to have it face to face if possible. If that's not possible through a video chat or something, so at least you can get some of the facial nonverbals. Over the
Hmm.
phone is, yeah, if we're going to rank order these, face to face, quiet location where we can talk is number one. Number two would be some sort of video chat, FaceTime, Discord, something like that. Three would be like a phone conversation. And the very last one, that to the point that I might not recommend doing it this way, would be over text. Um, because
And
over.
in that, we've missed out doing it as a group,
Hmm.
because we've worked this like it's the GM and the player that are
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
And some people might think, well, what if we just do it all together? It affects all of us.
And you can do that. I think the one thing though is sometimes there's that X factor, something else going on that's causing this that we might not know. So in this example, maybe one of the reasons Jack isn't enjoying Pathfinder is because it's reminding him of something bad that's happened in his life, or something. One of the NPCs is maybe reminding him of this jerky person that they have to work with who's been taking advantage of them, and just they use RPGs as a break, and they're having to be reminded of this horrible stuff that's happening at work, and they're not at a point where they're ready to tell the whole group that,
Yeah,
but they might share that on an individual level with the GM.
yeah,
Uh,
personal stuff and is easier. Yeah,
yeah. And if we feel like it's appropriate to bring up for the whole group, then we talk about it with the whole group. But when we're giving people feedback, especially any type of thing that could be construed as a criticism, you do that in private. You do praise in public, criticism in private. So if somebody RPs really well, or they use one of their abilities in an amazing way, to take that moment and be like, that was amazing. I loved that. Um, if they're being, having basically an adult temper tantrum at the table, we pull them aside and go, what was that behavior?
yeah,
Um, the other thing I would suggest for giving the feedback would be to have it on a game or on a day other than game day. Just because sometimes people need a couple days to reflect on what was said, to come up with a plan that they're going to do, and then how to move forward with that.
yeah. Because I can imagine that if you were to like meet up right before the game session,
Mm-hmm.
and then you drop that on him, he'll be super nervous and trying to think about it, but he doesn't have any time because he has to role play, and that won't work out.
Yeah, yeah, their head's probably not fully in the game, so that won't be as much fun. Um, but then we would do that and talk with them. And then again, I really encourage people to have that follow-up conversation where we talk with the player, whether it be a couple weeks later, a couple days later, just to check in and make sure if they have any other thoughts, any other insights. Maybe we adjust the Pathfinder game slightly, give them a different class or something. We go, okay, is it fun for you now? And they go,
Yeah, because it might be
yeah,
something very simple,
yeah.
but it also might be something that's inherent in the campaign, and then we have to say, okay, if he's not having any fun, does that mean we all quit
Mm-hmm.
and we all stop having fun with Pathfinder because we decided to do this for a reason? Or does it mean that he just sits out this campaign and doesn't show up to the RPG sessions for like however long this campaign is going to last?
Yeah. And it's hard to figure out exactly which thing we're going to do, but that's
Yeah,
why it's so important to have that follow up. We come up with a solution, and don't assume that the solution you come up with is the right one. I mean, it's probably wrong. But you got to start somewhere.
Hmm.
And so you do one solution, try it out for a couple weeks. If it doesn't work, we go back to the drawing table, come up with something else. Um, and so we just keep trying until we figure something out. But no, I think this is great. I hope this example was helpful to people of how to kind of walk through uh, planning for a conversation with a problem player or with somebody who you're having a challenge with at the table. Um, Paladin Hulk, anything that you want to plug that you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm Paladin Hulk. I spend my days being a Twitch moderator for Random Tuesday. Lauren, who you know from the right clicks on Geekspace TV.
Awesome
Geekspace
GM.
TV is a channel that I'm also a moderator for because I support my boss wherever she goes. She also goes to Roll For It, where she plays in Layla the Vampire Slayer, among other things, which is amazing. So also check that out. And her friend Drunkly Romantic also has me as his mod.
That's awesome. And
Watch more Twitch because it's great.
it is. It's wonderful. And thank you for being a mod. Like that is such a huge thing for our communities to have great moderators out there. And thank you so
It's the
much for
best.
coming on here and going through this example with me. I hope this is helpful for people. If you have questions or other comments or want to see more of these examples, I'd be willing to do more of them. Please leave comments below. And as always, let's make space at the table for everyone.